Do you ever have one of those days where it's dinner time and you just can't fathom eating a burger? You're not in the mood for a ribeye and you can't stomach the idea of eating eggs or, God forbid, bacon. It's rare, but it does happen. What do you do if you're a carnivore and you are averse to all carnivore foods? Just not in the mood, can't do it. Well, I have some tips and tricks for you right here on the Carnivore Science channel. Hi, I'm Liz. Welcome to the channel. I am a medical technologist and pharmaceutical chemist with over 30 years of experience in the health sector and pharmaceutical medical device industry. Today we're talking about when a carnivore gets sick of all things carnivore. It's a little bit of a pickle. What do you do in that case? Well, I have some thoughts on that. Number one, I have some insights on why you may be feeling this way and what we really need to be doing about it. And number two, I also have some hacks and some meals that may mix things up, because variety is the spice of life. And sometimes we need to just make things new and fresh. So let's get into this. So you feel like you're sick of all things carnivore. Well, first of all, you need to evaluate what is really going on, because I suspect it's actually that you are not hungry and you don't need to eat anything, as opposed to you being sick of carnivore foods in particular. Now, it can be the latter, but a lot of times I experience this, and I don't know if you do, if you're a carnivore. I will eat most of the time one meal a day, and that is what I need to eat for I don't do very strenuous work. I have a desk job kind of thing. I run around a lot during the day, but I'm not digging ditches or, building things or doing construction. Now, I would imagine, if you're a bigger person and you have a lot of physical exertion in your job, you're going to have a higher requirement for calories that you ingest, that sort of thing. But for me, eating one meal a day is really what I need. I don't need any more than that. But I will do this thing where when I'm at work and I eat lunch, if that's my one meal a day, a lot of times I'll come home at night and I have this expectation or anticipation where I'm looking forward to eating again, but it's not because I'm necessarily hungry and I feel like I'm getting enough nutrition. I'm not really hungry, so I don't really need to be eating again, but I am looking forward to it because I love all foods carnivore. I love animal-based foods. So what I'm doing, honestly, is kind of the same thing I used to do when I was a standard American diet person, where I would, a lot of people really they spend all morning looking forward to their lunch because they love the foods they're eating. It's entertainment. It's hedonic eating, which is eating for pleasure. In addition, you need sustenance too, but it's I'd look forward to my lunch and I'd look forward to my dinner and all that kind of stuff. Well, carnivores are more practical and they eat more for sustenance and they do enjoy their animal-based foods, in general. Most that I've met, or wouldn't it be effective? Nobody would be able to do it. But, we do that too. We're just as guilty a lot of times, I think. Because I've caught myself doing it. And myself, I have this conversation with myself and I talk to myself, well, I probably need to have more nutrition. I really need to I probably need more than the foods that I've eaten today. I really don't. I know I don't. I'm talking to my other self and I'm just talking myself into eating stuff because I want to eat stuff. It's not for any other reason. If you have those conversations with yourself and you're eating stuff and you're like, well, I'm not in the mood for anything, and you're just kind of wandering around and it's well, I could make a burger or I could make a ribeye or I could, and then you're just kind of I don't feel like it. If you're doing that, if you're having that conversation with yourself, don't eat anything because you're not hungry. Most likely. And I suggest if you do that for a day or two, fast, unless you're emaciated or something, and like you can't afford to fast for any length of time or whatever. But fasting is actually very good for you. Autophagy is a wonderful thing, and your body repairs itself when you fast. I mean, there's a lot of positive effects of fasting, so it'd be a good time to fast if you don't really want to eat anything. But check yourself, because you might be doing the hedonic hunger thing, or hedonic eating, or whatever it's called, where you just want to eat. So that's my first tip. Okay, so we talked about if you're not actually hungry, you shouldn't eat. Okay, common sense, easier said than done sometimes. But if it's the case that you're actually just in a rut and you're kind of sick of just the same old, and there's just not enough variety, and that's getting you down, there's a different solution for that. And I do think that can happen. I think it's happened to me several times, and it can happen to people. So, and what you don't want at all costs is you do not want to derail the carnivore diet lifestyle, because it is what has healed you. It is what has cured your medical conditions. It's what gives you energy. It's what makes you feel the best. So you don't want the fact that you're getting bored to ruin everything. That is the key thing that you've got to make sure doesn't happen. So there's a couple of things I can suggest that may or may not work for you depending on what you include in a carnivore diet. This is one of the most amazing recipes I have found yet, as far as when you get stuck on, in a rut and you just can't deal with eating the same old thing all the time and you really need something different. This really came through. Now, there's a lot of recipes that I've found that are just god awful. I mean, fake carnivore breads that taste like, I don't know, a couch cushion or something. There's a lot of weird stuff. And then if people are going and getting these powders and all of these chemicals and things, and they're having to order all these different weird flours and things like that are technically carnivore, if they're putting massive amounts of weirdness in there, or processed weirdness, I typically don't like it. But this recipe doesn't have any weirdness in it. The only thing I will say is that it does have cottage cheese in it, which I normally don't touch any kind of milk products. When you're looking at milk has carbs. It's an animal product, but it has carbs. So most carnivores don't really drink just milk. And cottage cheese has some carbs in it. It's not a ton. But still, it's something I don't normally do. I kind of played with the ratios a little bit to kind of minimize the amount of cottage cheese I actually used in this recipe. But it was amazing. It was so good. And not only that, you can use cloud bread to do a lot of different things. So I'll have some ideas after I show you all these different recipes that I'm about to show you. I want to give you some additional ideas that you can do, but it centers around cloud bread. There's a lot you can do with cloud bread, which is carnivore. So let's take a look at this end product. Basically, I don't want to watch the entire video. I'm going to link all these videos that I'm going to go over or introduce you to in the description below, so you can look at them for yourself if you want to make them. But I just want to give you an idea of what it looks like, kind of how he does it, the overview of what's involved.
Look at how good that looks. Look at that, guys. Beautiful, beautiful. Hey everyone, Dave here, back in the kitchen, and today we're going to be making the ultimate carnivore cloud bread pizza. I do have a video on my channel where I make some amazing cloud bread pizza, some awesome cloud bread, but this time we're going carnivore on it, which means sans the almond flours, coconut flours, all that stuff. It should be good. We'll see. I've never tried it before. I'm generally bad at these sorts of things, but that's the fun of the show. We got to start off by cooking some meats, though, because it's carnivore. You got to have some nice cooked meats. So I have with me right here my big fancy black.
Now, I will say I like this guy's videos. He is really funny, very laid back. I really enjoy watching him, on top of the fact that the food that he made was really, really good. I've seen a lot of really crappy recipes for carnivore, so his turned out really good, so I was pleased with it. But I'm just going to take you through. Now, if you look here, he cooks the meats. So, I mean, we don't really need to watch somebody cook meat, because, I mean, obviously we're carnivores and that's all we do is cook meat. So he cooks some sweet sausage. Now, we'll say if you're cooking sausage, I believe it's sweet Italian sausage, but he gets I don't know what kind of carb content that had in it, because you can get sausage with a lot of like sugars and things like that in it. So I would watch what you get when it comes to sausage. I would definitely use sausage in this, along with the ground beef. So he gets sausage and ground beef. And I'm just giving you an overview of kind of what's going on here. So he chops it up. He's cooking the meats. And he even does something in here when he makes a mistake that I actually made, because like he starts to make a mistake. Don't like do all your meats and things that take a while, like do that first and then do the cloud bread part, because when you do cloud bread, you'll see in a few moments that it starts to it kind of has a lot of air in it, and it needs to be like very new when you spread it out and put it in the oven. So do the meats first, because what I did is I started doing the mixture of the cloud bread, and I did stop about before I whipped it up completely, but and I do have a KitchenAid mixer that I use to do cloud bread, but you know, you need to do the meats first. So just remember the order. I think he started to do it backwards too, but
thing again, you can do it on the stove top.
so let's see. He's got bacon. So he now this is very important
For sure.
if you're picking, because you could put anything you wanted as long as it's carnivore on this type of pizza. But the bacon is very important, because I think one of the things that made this recipe extra good is I put extra bacon grease on it, because remember, you're not going to have tomato sauce on the cloud bread. So one of the comments I can make about this is that definitely put as much, put the amount of bacon you want on. Keep the bacon grease, because the bacon grease on the cloud bread kind of is like a foundation for everything else you're putting on it. So that's one thing. And then and you chop it up or whatever. So he chops it up. Now this is how you make the cloud bread. So
here we are, guys. We need 4 eggs separated for the actual cloud bread pizza part of this recipe. So I'm gonna use my little egg separator like so. I'm all fancy. I'm all prepared. 3 bowls, one for the shell, one for the yolk, and one for the egg white. Last time I tried to make cloud bread pizza, I went through like 17 eggs. So we're trying to increase my effectiveness. Now there's a bunch of shells that went through there, but I can get them out. Wasn't ideal, wasn't the goal, but it happens. So you want to do this at home, just separate out. Where'd the shell go? Here's one. But yeah, the goal is to only use 4 eggs instead of 18, because you're only supposed to use 4. But my, see, look, the yolk's coming through. We don't want that. 3 and 1 more. Boom. There we go. All right, so look at that. We're set up for success. Bring over my big Mammer Jammer KitchenAid. I've never actually liked this thing all that much.
the KitchenAid works great actually for this. So just FYI, if you have one, this is the best way to do it.
But someone recently told me you can adjust the height on it. Is that true? The problem is they told me you could adjust the height. You're supposed to take a brand new kit. Mix this up.
Quick and dirty parts. So this is where I think, all right, so he separated the eggs. He's got, now he uses a food processor to
So
mix
the egg yolks go in with the cottage cheese. And then you need 2 tablespoons of softened cream cheese, which I'm pretty sure.
I used more cream cheese, a little bit more cream cheese than I did cottage cheese. You can play around with it. You can play around with it. Oh my God, somebody always calls me when I'm in the middle of a video. But you can play around with it and see what works, like if you just want to experiment. But I put more cream cheese than I did cottage cheese, just because I wanted to eliminate carbs. But not a tremendous amount. It wasn't, I didn't like invert it or anything. But so he's putting he's got the cottage cheese mixture. You've got egg yolks, you've got the cottage cheese, you've got the cream cheese. And he's mixing that together. This is very simple, actually. It's a very simple recipe. So as you see him going through there, and I'll show you he's going to show you what you see how that looks
stiff. Okay, so now we have that. We're going to start folding it in.
So that's the whites. The egg whites are what you're actually and I think you have to look at the recipe to be sure, but I think he puts a little cream of tartar in there. But basically he's whipping the egg whites so that they have stiff peaks. And the big thing about cloud bread is that when you make it and you're adding to the cheese mixture, the cheese egg yolk mixture, you got to fold it in. Don't stir it. Don't stir rigorously, because you want to keep the airy consistency of the whipped egg whites. That's very important, because I used to be a baker, and I cooked pies, and I did cream pies a lot, and I did a lot of meringue. Meringue is it's the same thing basically. It's making meringue, like you can make it too stiff, you can make it too runny, you can whatever. You can ruin it very easily. So that's really the only technique dependent thing is when you make it, watch for the stiff peaks, fold it in gently into the mixture so that it's the right texture and everything. And another thing I'll mention, so really easy recipe, and then I'll show you, I'm going to skip to the part where, see how he's spreading that out? You can spread that out thinner or thicker or whatever. Now we did it a little thicker than he did, and it actually was extremely good. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be too thick and it's not going to be good. It actually was really good. It was like the difference between having a thick crust pizza and a thin crust pizza. But you can spread this out thinner if you prefer that. That's just, he didn't really go over that, but it's just an option. You can kind of get the thin crust experience or the thick crust experience, like depending on what your preference is. So that's one thing I didn't really think about when we did it, but it turned out being what we wanted. So he puts this in the oven, and I'll show you. I'm just going to go through and show you what it looks like. So this is the finished product here, or the cloud bread finished product. It's your crust. And his is kind of thin, but I couldn't really tell how thick he did it. We did it thicker. It ended up being good too. So you bake it basically first, and then he's put the bacon grease on it, and then he put I think cheese first. I think he's using mozzarella, but you could use whatever cheese you want. And again, look at the carb content if you're trying to stay away from carbs. And the meats go on. I mean, this is, everybody's probably knows how pizzas are built. But if you look here, look at that.
Realistic and going to be more true to pizza. So we're going to try that one, and this one's just for me. All right, so let's go ahead and slice into it here. Now I'm supposed to let it sit for 5 minutes, and I haven't. So that's on me if this screws up because I'm impatient. Let's see if we can get a slice out here. Oh, dang. Look at this. Boom. Check this out. Okay. Look at that, guys. Beautiful, beautiful texture and consistency.
That is just as good as it looks. It is just as good as it looks. Cloud bread consistency, it's different than crust. It's not going to be just like a pizza crust, because anybody that thinks you're going to get like something that's carnivore to look like something's made out of flour, it's not typically going to happen. It's not exactly the same, but it is very easy to get used to. Very easy to get used to. So I was amazed with this recipe. So if you are tired of just the plain old carnivore usual stuff that you do this, you're going to be very happy with it. So that's my first suggestion. Okay, the second recipe that I have seen that is amazing, and I did make a variation of this too. And again, it's still the same like premise of cloud bread. It's different. It's a little different the way that you bake it. It's not like smeared out to make a crust looking thing. This is a mock cake. So this is very good, and I will say that I do a variation, and I'm going to show you just basically kind of a little bit of her making it, but again, it's the same type of ingredients when it's similar ingredients. So cloud bread, I mean, you have different variations on it, but it is similar. But this is amazing. If you really need something different, it is amazing. So let's take a look. I mean, wow, that's a cream cake. And this is what it looks like when she takes it out. Like, she cooks it in like cake pans.
Hopefully you've ditched the cake for a steak by now, but in case you haven't, I'm going to show you the easiest fresh cream layer cake that is 100% carnivore and actually makes, bakes, and eats just like a decadent cake that you can eat on every special occasion, guilt-free. I'll show you how to make the cake, the icing, and of course, how to put it all together. And by the way, this cake can be customized to your liking. You can add whatever flavors, toppings.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through, since this is similar to the cloud bread idea, she shows you the ingredients, eggs, and I'm trying to, I don't remember exactly what's in it, but it's similar type of carnivore ingredients. So she goes through, she makes the 2-layer cakes, and then she actually makes the
For making a cake, and I was inspired
the
only because
icing.
it's for my baby brother and I'll do anything for my baby brother. This was actually so easy. I thought it would be a
And
daunting
it is a
task.
pretty easy thing to do. It's shockingly easy. So if you look, this is what her layer cake looks like right there, and it's give you up close view. So this is amazing, especially, you know, one of the things that we run into is that if we're carnivores and we have a special occasion, we can't really do anything special. If we're just, I mean, if you're just eating just meat, you're just, you know, eating a steak or eating a burger or whatever. It's like, how do you make that really special? So this is a way that you can actually kind of feel like socially that you're able to enjoy things. And again, I'm going to give the disclaimer. The water buffalo is running through the parakeet factory out there. Toddlers. Bang, bang, bang. Slam, slam, slam. Sorry, sorry, sorry for all the noise. There's not a lot I can do about it. Earlier, somebody called me. There's always so much going on here. It's crazy. I can't get any kind of peace. But anyway, sidebar rant. So one of the things I'm going to mention is that when it comes to these recipes, some of these recipes, well, in particular, like the cakes, which are supposed to be sweet kind of thing, or typically sweet. Now, this sweet cream, or the cream, is sweet to a lot of people. I am one of the people that one of the things I don't do carnivore historically is I will drink coffee. And now I did a no coffee challenge where tried to give up coffee. And I did successfully give up coffee for a while. But then I realized that I actually do drink coffee still occasionally, and I do it because for headache relief. I know it probably sounds weird to a lot of people, but I don't take medicines or anything, so I did not give up coffee completely, and coffee is absolutely not on the carnivore diet. But, so that's one of the things I do outside of carnivore. Another thing I do outside of carnivore is stevia. I use a very pure form of stevia, not crap stevia that's mixed with maltodextrin, but stevia. It is a plant, so those two things are the two things that are off the beaten path when it comes to carnivore. Like, I'm not a purist. I probably will get my card revoked just by admitting this, but I've always been very honest about that. But if I was to do when I do a cake like this, I'm going to add, in particular, to probably a little stevia to the batter for the cloud bread, and I'm going to add a little stevia to the cream. Now, the cream, like icing, is sweet, especially if you incorporate butter in it. It's kind of a sweet taste already, so this is just to your preference. And I don't add a lot of stevia, but I do add a little for kind of to mix it up again, just to have something different. A lot of people can't do that because if they eat anything that's least bit sweet, even if it's like not sugar, it causes them to crave more things that are like that, or just to overeat. It doesn't bother me that way. It doesn't bother me at all. So I don't have that problem, so I can do that. But you have to consider that when you're looking at any of these desserts or carnivore things or whatever. This can really, give you, like when they're eating it, it looks so good. It really does look good. And I've built something, not from this recipe, but this was similar to the recipe that I had made, where I did like a cake. And I mean, all of the same, like a lot of these recipes are going to be similar, but hers, I believe, was almost just like the ones that I did. So it turns out really good. And especially if you have a special occasion, or you're just tired of being left out and you want to kind of have something yummy. So that is the second recipe I wanted to recommend. My next go-to recipe was one that I actually presented in a video called Need to Lose Weight, 5 Weight Loss Hacks That You Can't Miss. And it is one that I actually found a recipe that was very similar, but I had to tweak it to make it what it is that I make now. So, again, it's something that sounds absolutely disgusting, but it is one of my favorite recipes to actually make whenever I'm in a rut. So, I will just let me speak for me. Pork rind waffles. Now, this sounds absolutely hideous. It sounds like the nastiest thing you could possibly, if you were trying to make somebody sick and you want to describe some kind of food to them, you'd say pork rind waffles, right? Well, I'm going to show you a picture of this, either a video or a picture. I'll insert it here. But I actually made this recipe and I'm thinking, this is dumb. I cannot believe I'm making this. This is so nasty. I made the recipe and I gave some of it to my son, my 22-year-old son, and he didn't know it wasn't a regular waffle. And it was the craziest thing. And it's so good. It's made out of eggs, and it's eggs, pork rinds that are crushed up. I order them like already crushed. Like, it's called panko pork rinds or whatever. And I wouldn't recommend crushing them because it takes 4,000 years to actually crush enough pork rinds to fit in a cup. So it was 5 large eggs, 1 cup of pork rinds, about a half of a stick of butter, melted. You basically, and I do it all in a bullet. I put it all in a bullet. So you blend the eggs up in a bullet, and then you melt the butter, but make sure it's not hot, and you add the melted butter and you mix it, while you're adding it. Add the pork rinds. I add a small amount of stevia because I do consume stevia. A very pure version of stevia, not the crap stevia with maltodextrin in it, because that's crap. But and I'm trying to get, eventually I will get off of stevia too, but Rome was not built in a day. So I add a little bit of stevia, and I do add a little bit of vanilla extract for flavor, whatever. I blend all that together, and I put them in I put it in a Belgian waffle maker. And oh my God, you feel like when you are able to eat something like this, that's actually, it's carnivore, like it's basically just, it's got high fat and it's no carbs, and you feel like you're eating something from your past, it is really an amazing feeling. So that is one of my surrogate foods, because it's not a waffle. It looks like a waffle, and it smells like a waffle, and tastes like a waffle. Now, I don't put syrup on it, because one of the things I don't do is sweeteners like sucralose and maltodextrin and things like that you find in sugar-free stuff. I don't touch that because it spikes your insulin. Stevia does not spike your insulin. That's the reason I use stevia. So what I'll do is I'll take butter, and this sounds stupid, but I'll take butter and melt it and mix a little stevia in it to make it sweet, like a sweet butter sauce type of thing, and then I'll pour it on the waffle, and it's just excellent. So yeah, that, I swear, that is really good. The waffle's really good, but God, doesn't that sound nasty? It still amazes me. Every time I make that recipe, I'm just like amazed at the fact that that is made out of pork rinds. Very odd, but very, very good. In addition to things like these recipes, and there's a lot of really good carnivore recipes out there, you just have to be careful what it is that they're putting in the recipe. Like, are they ordering weird things on Amazon, or is it Whole Foods, like the same type of thing that you would normally eat, just in a different combination or prepared a different way. So one of the things also that you can do, that I was mentioning, that I was going to say something about at the end of this video, is the cloud bread recipe that you saw, and you can do it in different thicknesses. You can have it thicker or thinner. You can turn that into sandwich bread. If you miss sandwiches, you can use the cloud bread, and you can actually put meat in between it and make like a sandwich. That really mixes things up, because that's something that I think we take for granted, like that people don't really think about. What if you were never able to eat a sandwich again? I mean, it's kind of depressing. I used to love sandwiches. I do miss that. So if you're if you're wanting to mix it up, that's a good way to mix it up. You can put any kind of meat in that, if you like, that you would like to make a sandwich, make a chicken sandwich or a roast beef sandwich or whatever. So that is one thing you can do. Adding butter to a lot of your meats, if you don't usually, I mean, that can make it take on a whole new dimension. If you don't normally, let's say you usually eat ruminant meats, But you can eat seafood. Like, say, seafood is not something that you need to stay away from. What I would really like to get a hold of is a bunch of crab legs, you know, or lobster or something like that, and eat a bunch of that. If you do like lobster and butter and things like that, that's very different from what you normally eat, probably, and scallops or fish, that kind of thing. So, you know, just think outside of the box, because there's a lot more animal products than just the regular ruminant. Now, this does not go for people who actually are trying to, you know, they have a lot of autoimmune issues or inflammation, and, you know, they have to be careful about eating pork or eating other types of animals. Now, that's a different story, you know. A lot of this may not apply to you. It may not be something that you can do, but you know, it is, if you're just mainly on carnivore and you just do animal products and you kind of stay away from the carbs, and that's the basics, you know, you just stick to the basics. These ideas may help you get out of a rut. So I hope these recipes and tips help you in order to get out of your rut or spice things up, make it possible for you to continue in a carnivore lifestyle. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you do not fall completely off the wagon and go run into the store and, you know, stocking up on Little Debbie nutty bars or something. I mean, you don't want to go nuts and crazy and end up eating standard American diet or something. So this is a way, if you look at these carnivore recipes, and there's a lot more out there, you can find a way to actually stay on carnivore, stay on track, but get something different. I do hope this helps. And if you guys like the video, please give me a like. And if you want to subscribe, please do. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.